this. Yeah, so there is something in Islam called Mulk al-Yameen. Mulk al-Yameen in Islam is right-hand position. Now, there's a huge difference, and this is what Islamophobes try to do. They try to compare slavery to Islam, Mulk al-Yameen. They try to say that these two things are the same thing. Now, can you define for me what slavery is? Because I want to expound on this topic. What do you consider slavery? What is slavery?
Slavery is forcing somebody into work with no compensation and no benefit towards them.
Okay, excellent. And they have no freedom to escape as well, right?
No.
And they're considered
more or less
property. Yes, they're considered a property of that person. So this is the definition of slavery. If this is the definition of slavery, then this does not exist in Islam, to put it completely simply. Now, talking about Mulk al-Yameen, how can you have Mulk al-Yameen in Islam? Mulk al-Yameen are captives of war. People who are taken in war when you're fighting against another army. The women that came with the army. So it's not like Muslims can defeat an army and then go into the city and take the women. That's not the case. So the women that came with the fighting army, because, the army used to come, the women be in the back, they have tents in the back and things like that, and the army goes and fights. So the women who come with the army, some women do not come, they stay in the city, and some women come with the army, they come with their husbands, etc. So the women who came to come with the army, some of them, they use arrows and bows as well to fight. Some of them are for healing. They deal with the sick and all of that. So there are many reasons. So the women that come to fight in the war are the ones who are taken captives, but not only the women, also the men. So Mulk al-Yameen can be man or woman. It's not just women as well. It can be both. So it's a captive of war that is taken. Now the question is, when there is a war and we take captives, do we have to make them all? This is a starting thing that I want to talk about. Do we have to make them all Mulk al-Yameen? The answer is no. The Quran says that there is options. These options, who determines which option to take? The leader of the Muslims at the time, for what he sees as most fit for the situation, most beneficial for the situation of the Muslims, he makes that decision. What are these options? You can ransom them, send them to the enemy, and then get money. Or you can exchange them with other prisoners. You can send them and get some of the Muslim prisoners that were taken. And you can let them go free completely. Like the Prophet ﷺ, what he did when he conquered the conquest of Mecca, when he took the captives of the conquest of Mecca, he let them go free. Or you can even kill them, because those people were coming to kill you to begin with. So there is no doubt that they were coming to take your life. And at that time, there's no prisons. So you can say another option, put them in prison. There is no prisons. There's like to put them in a prison or something, right? So these are the options. And the last one is Mulk al-Yameen. Now, the leader of the Muslims, he looks at the situation of the Muslims. What do we need the most? Maybe there's a lot of prisoners that are taken, so let's exchange prisoners. Maybe you need money now, so let's ransom them for money. So he looks what is the best situation, and then he behaves based on that. Now, those people are taken as Mulk al-Yameen. How are they dealt with in Islam? First thing, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, now I want to say also that many scholars, or a lot of scholars, believe you cannot have intercourse with Mulk al-Yameen if that woman is not a Jew or a Christian. You also stipulate that woman has to be from a Jewish or Christian religion. That's a big opinion that is taken in a lot of the schools of thought. But now, moving forward, how do you deal with those people that are taken as captives of war? So because they're taken as captives of war, it is a punishment for them that they are captives of war. So there are certain duties and jobs that they need to do. So they will work, they will serve whoever that person that is taken. But in return, the Prophet ﷺ said, he said that you have to feed them from the same food that you eat. You have to clothe them from the same clothing that you wear. You cannot overburden them in work. If you overburden them in work, then you have to help them in the work. Okay? And the Prophet ﷺ, he said you cannot hit them. In fact, if you hit them, you have to let them go free. They're no longer your Mulk al-Yameen. It's not like slavery, Atlantic slavery, and beating slaves and all of that. It's no such thing, right? And they can go free by ransoming themselves. So what they can do is they can go to a judge and give an amount of money. There's something called mukataba, and they say to the judge, I want to go free. And they give him that amount of money, and then they go free. In fact, the Quran commands or recommends that the person who has Mulk al-Yameen to help Mulk al-Yameen to ransom. If he needs money to help it, to help them finances as well to go free. So this is how they're dealt with in Islam. Also, this idea of Mulk al-Yameen is not inherited. Not like slavery was inherited. If the father is a slave, has a son, the son is also a slave. No, in Islam, Mulk al-Yameen is not inherited to the next generation. It's just that person, because that next generation is not responsible. The person who's taken as a captive of war is the one who is Mulk al-Yameen. The next generation, if a child is newly born, that child is not inherited. He's not also a Mulk al-Yameen as his mother was Mulk al-Yameen. Not only that, Islam commands explicitly to free Mulk al-Yameen. Allah says that's a good deed to do. So Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْعَقَبَةُ. What would make you know what the good way is? فَكُّ رَقَبَةٍ. Freeing Mulk al-Yameen. That's the good way. That's the righteous way. You get rewarded for it. Not only that, it's one of the ways to give zakah. Every Muslim has to pay zakah. One of the things that you do in paying the zakah is to free Mulk al-Yameen. Not only that, when you commit a sin, there's something called expiation of sins. So if I make a sin and I want to expiate a sin, a way to expiate the sin is to let that milk al-yamin go. So Allah has made all of these options to free them, which will in the end anyways result in no longer having any milk al-yamin. Not only that, unlike slavery, you cannot take a free person and make him a servant. In fact, the Prophet he said to us, Allah is the enemy of three people, and one of them is a person who takes a free person and he sells it as a slave. That's completely prohibited in Islam. The only way that can happen is in war. People who are coming to fight in war, they will come in to kill you. And one of the options that can be done is milk al-yamin. And if that option is done, then that person, you have to treat him like you're treating your family, literally by clothing them and feeding them from what you have. They can go free. But it's a punishment for them that they have to serve you. It's a kind of a community service. Today they have the jail, the community. It's a form of service. Yeah. It's a form of service that you will do to that individual. And this is, I would say, the kind of a comprehensive analysis of this idea of milk al-yamin.
Yeah, that was very comprehensive. And so just to make sure that I understand it completely, it's like if you have two warring parties, one is Muslim, the other is like non-Muslim, and they send their armies out in the middle to fight each other, and the Muslims prevail. They can take the captives of those who didn't die as Mulk al-yamin, but they're not allowed to invade the enemy nation that didn't fight and take their civilian populace as Mulk al-yamin.
No. Once they defeat the army, they already took the land now. So let's assume, look, I'm traveling we are going to fight, let's say, America, right? We defeat the American army. So now we have the government of America. Now we cannot take the civilians of American population who didn't come with the army. This is what I'm saying, yeah? Cannot take those civilians who didn't come with the army and take them as milk al-yamin. That's not the case, no. The people who came in the war to fight you.
Okay, that makes sense. You explained it. I knew it. When I come on here, you're going to answer it the best way possible. So
no problem.
Yeah. So